So, from when you started writing,
Mhm.
what was that journey like to getting to this point where you're at now then?
Shoot, man, it was rough.
Well,
That's what it was.
it had to be.
Yeah, I don't know, when I would first start writing music, it was always defined in this little box because
Mhm.
that's what I had learned, right? Like jazz music, gospel music, pop music, you can pick a show tune genre, right? Like any genre period, I was full of all of these things, but they all felt like they were all a restrictive box for me. And I was like, I don't want to be in a box, right?
Mhm.
And so I guess when I was first learning to write, I was really just kind of breaking myself out of that box.
Right.
I had a lot of feelings and a lot of things that I wanted to say, and I wasn't really good at putting those actually into words. Um, and so, I stopped, honestly, I stopped just kind of writing, right? And I
Mm.
just started talking whatever I felt. And I was like, oh, well, I speak in fortune cookies, so I might as well I might as well just, keep talking and just record it or something and
Yeah.
then come back over it, put a melody to it, and it just felt much more authentic that way to me. But it took me a long time to figure that out. So, yeah,
It's a process of self-discovery. You
it really
literally had a
is.
process of
It
self-discovery.
really is. It's been an amazing journey, I will say, and the more that I dive into it, the more I feel myself not just healing, but myself becoming more aware, myself being more content, myself discovering things that I didn't really know. I was like, "Oh, shoot, I really do feel these things, huh?" So, I feel like writing is the way that I discover and connect with myself. And, as long as I can communicate that to somebody else, then, you know, I've done the service of humanity,
Right.
right?
Let's get in a bit into a bit more of just balancing like the technical the toolbox with
Sure.
like your feelings and like how do your how let me say this in a way that makes sense. How did you work on translating your tools
Mhm.
into, okay, this gets this feeling from me,
Yeah.
and if I feel this, maybe somebody else feels like this when they hear this thing, and like,
Sure.
right, making those connections.
Yeah, so at least for me, the first thing I had to do is throw the tools away,
Hmm.
right? Theory does not make the music.
Hmm.
Music is literally just defined by the theory,
Yeah, it comes
right?
after.
And I feel like for me, and I'm sure many other aspiring musicians and artists, they feel the same way, is I'm so full of theory,
Hmm.
right, that it's very hard for me to make music. So the very first thing I did was throw all that away, right?
Hmm.
And really listened into things that um people were doing. Like I said, I'm really huge in onto Disney music, but not even just their lyrical music,
Hmm.
but the way that they score and things like that. One of my favorite compositions is Romantic Flight from How to Train Your Dragon. Right, but, like, it's something about how they use strings to paint clouds, and they make you feel like you're soaring.
Hmm.
So instead of using somebody else's theory and somebody else's terms, I listen to these things for my own self, and I define for myself, like, what does this feel like? I'll take a random song and say, what do I see?
Hmm.
Like, listen to it, don't use any other context. What do you see? And how did they paint this picture with sound?
Mm.
And so I inevitably just try to do just that, right? I don't know the tool that I'm going to use until I've mastered the feeling.
Right.
And once I've mastered that feeling and I know, like, well, I want it to feel sad, or I want it to feel uppity, or I want it to feel like I'm sitting on a lake
Hmm.
where there's moving water, then the tools come into mind.
Right.
Because,
It's just a
again, the best way that I can describe it is, you're just painting a picture with the sounds,
mhm.
right? And if you are able to achieve that, then, you'll feel for the tool, right?
Right.
You'll see that a screwdriver probably isn't the best for hammering nails, right? So,
You feel me?
yeah, so at the end of the day, it's all subjective anyway, so you might as well be an artist.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, look. Um, so I'm gonna say a concise summary of what you just said back to you.
Sure.
Just make sure I understood it
Oh,
clearly.
yeah.
So like one of like the key part of like making those connections between your toolbox
Mhm.
and like getting the feelings you want from sound. Well, after you threw out the tools, you just imagine that toolbox in my garage. You just threw it out in my
Yeah,
driveway,
pretty much.
and then you focus on like a visual emotional connection
Absolutely.
and actually that's a way to think about like producing music just like on the uh sonic landscape instead of just like the musical concept of the
Absolutely.
song that
Mhm.
producers will think like if this song was a movie what would be happening what kind
Absolutely.
of scene would it be
Yeah.
and then I would just help the artist get to that scene
Yeah, I
right
feel like a lot of people just kinda discount that because they're trying to make the next hit. Like, the
mm-hmm
internet has made us so sick on, like, these hits just out of everywhere from everybody's country with everything. But honestly, what feels good will always be the hit, right? So, like, if you make a feeling, if you create a moment,
mm-hmm
right, and you stay authentic to that moment, right, then it'll always come out the way that it's intended, right?
yeah
As long as you create the feeling and stay true to that, then, it doesn't matter, right?
mm-hmm
Like, I don't know, the James Brown said, "That's not a saxophone, that's a drum."
It's a drum
Exactly. So, like the exact same concept, right? It's
yeah
it's not about it's not about the instrument that you have in your hand.
mm-hmm.
It's all about what is the feeling you're trying to create. And if it's funky, if it's jazzy, if it's soaring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like master what you want to paint
Mm-hmm.
and then